let me ask everybody, all the thousands of you, the great hordes here, could everybody come on up? I know we have silent augmentation, but if you could come, up so like we actually didn't have bad breath or something. And we can gather in, and those on the sides, you have to realize that some of us have arthritic necks. And if I had to turn my neck all the way over there to see you,
All the way over there.
the pain would just be. Are we close enough you want to be? Okay. Let's see, I guess somebody turned me on. That's unusual these days. Thank you. Thank you so much. I wander back and forth, so if you're recording. To my left is Sandra London, and this is in effect, the great assemblage that Sandra has put together. And I was very honored to be asked to write a little introduction to the book, and in fact to lead off perhaps with a somewhat not too depressive but celebratory in a dark way poem, and then something that is a silly, trivial imitation of Alexander Pope having to do with the history of New College, encapsulated in 4 pages of rhymed doggerel, with which I shall probably turn the podium back to Sandra, and we will march fiercely forward. Those of you who partook of the marvelous partaken, it's a strong past participle, of the feast outside have Kathy to thank. And see, had I known, I would have given up. You guys were like 64 and all that. Remember when, first of all, we had the Mecca. That was a restaurant with that stupid tower on the top. And then they kept the pagoda-type tower, purple, if I remember correctly, of the Mecca. And it became the Golden Buddha.
Oh, yes.
And the Golden Buddha was so called because, of course, it had the big, fat, cement, 700-pound Buddha that New College students managed to steal at one point. When the Golden Buddha became recycled and became what it is now, Barnacle Bills. My uncle in Arizona could do the entirety of Barnacle Bill the Sailor, which went on for 20 obscene minutes. I can't do the whole thing, nor will I attempt even, but I can remember Barnacle Bill the Sailor. Does anybody remember the name of the gal behind the bar who didn't care if you were 11 or 22, but would serve you anyway?
Kitty, probably.
Huh?
Kitty.
Could be. My memory was so foggy from those days, although I haven't had a drink in 9 years. I think there are several blanks in the past.
You know what they say, Mac, if you say you remember it, you weren't there.
Oh, well, it was the 60s, after all, and the 70s, and the 80s and the 90s. Whoa, here we are. In any case, I'm not going to go ahead and read you the introduction to the book unless you absolutely insist on it, because I didn't bring a copy of the introduction with me. I think one of the absolutely marvelous things about this gathering is that the folks who are here, as far as I know, have really sort of done this themselves on their own out of the pressures of life or the perils of self-education or the emulation, God help us, of others. Because in the very early years at New College, there was nothing like a creative writing class. People just did it because it was something really cool to do. I started doing experiments in verse and poetry, as some of you know, because I figured that getting your hands dirty with something was the best way to learn how to take the toilet apart. And if you want to know, if you want to know what really makes the flapper flap in the back of the toilet, and why particular movements of words often have particular requirements all their own, or dimensions of expression, then you got to get your hands dirty with it. And so my attitude toward literature was sort of like that of the natural sciences folks. in physics, if you ain't doing it, you're not learning. So some of you did a few things like that with me, but New College really never had, and certainly doesn't have now, anything like a creative writing program, no majors or anything like that, which is both good and bad. And but there it is. I will read at Sandra's request, I will read a serious poem, which is in the anthology. And Sandra was kind enough to have my little son, Milton, deceased, image leading off the book. And she asked if I would have a bit of an allergy for him, and I do have a small one. It requires a little explanation. I'm very interested in what the anthropologists call grave goods. And people were buried with stuff often that's really important to them, or you put on a headstone, in certain cultures, a pebble, another little effigy or something like that. And I sort of thought when my little son Milton was killed at age 7 in 1971 in an accident, house fell on him, which is not very good, but it was quick. What I did was go back to the time when I was about the age, the number of years after he died. So 11 years after he died, I had gone back in my memories and said, when I was a kid at 11, I had made a little cast lead figure of a toy about this big. And maybe some of y'all did that when you were younger, and you had these negative steel halves, and this back in the days when your parents would let you melt lead on the stove and pour them on your people's feet, etc. It's quite wonderful. Then people don't let kids do that good stuff anymore, not even me. And you'd take the lead and you'd pour it into these steel halves, and if you were lucky, the lead would fill all the way up, and if not, then you had this real strange toy sculpture with part of the top of it missing. And when I was 11, I had poured this horseman with the soldier riding on him, and the lead never quite got up to the soldier's head. He had his neck and a little piece of his profile. And I went out one evening and placed that on my son's headstone, and came back several weeks later. And back in the days, I was going there almost every evening to the headstone, and found that it was gone. Somebody had taken it, and there was just this little. I glued it down. There was just a little swath on the gravestone where the little toy had been, and. So I committed some free verse, and it's called Small as the Palm, and it's addressed to my son as if I were speaking to him. Small as the palm of your hand, the horseman never looked right, and thus his steed's tail turned full left, their narrow bodies always edged in profile, marching the window sill, the bed's head rail, the bleak gray playroom boards. When I poured that hot lead careful into steel halves of the negative soldier, I'd been the same 11 years your dad. This headstone cuts your dates in deep. That crucible of heavy melt was thick enough to cap his shoulders, but the horseman's head was a shift of negative space. He rode his small lead horse, stalled out in time as any bone. In 71, I glued the horse's dull, wide feet to the black sill of your headstone, rider and horseman facing right, that broad still tail, a heavy flare of gray. Tonight, it's gone. A swath of new scraped stone, narrow as your thumb, holds up a slab of space that stretches up for miles. Tonight, I hope some live child holds the horseman as he gallops, running now his narrow, eager fingers through its scars. That's my kind of dark poem. I'm going to do a silly one, and then we will transition to, want to do a quick history? And I'll do a silly one here. This is a great scholarly poem. Not. But it has this exceptionally pretentious and stupid title, which is called Peripatetic, or The Art of Sinking in College. Okay? Now, I don't need to explain to people here that Peripatetics were the school of Socrates, been called so called because they were philosophers walking around, etc., etc. But that's not the scholarly part. The neat part is that Alexander Pope, the guy who did Rape of the Lock, and, he sort of went mad, I think, as he was translating Homer, and he wrote a long satirical poem making fun of almost everybody who was writing criticism in the 17th century, except his God, who was Boileau, et cetera, et cetera. So he wrote this absolutely savage satire called the Dunciad, not the Iliad, okay, but the Dunciad. The critic Tybalt was the dunce, and who was the son of the goddess of dullness, okay? I love the idea that dullness as a goddess. And at the end, of course, that the blackness of dullness overcomes everything, and it's the end of the world at the poem. So I decided that dullness was not a suitable god for New College. I felt that anarchy was a better god for New College. And but what's all that got to do with peripatetic? Well, Alexander Pope, it turns out, was making fun of a title by Longinus, right? And Harry here is a classical scholar, right? But it's called On the Sublime, or peripathos, okay? So peripatetic and peripathos. Oh, I don't know, I just thought that was cool. So peripathos and the art of sinking in poetry, I'm turning to peripatetic and the art of sinking in college, and as part of the great scholarly achievement of this stupid piece of verse, you will note that the third line is a linguistic recoup of T.S. Eliot's recoup of To Carthage Then I Came, okay, which he stole out of St. Augustine's Confessions. And of course, To Carthage Then I Came, the fires of lust are burning. New College made sense to me. So as the years cascaded down, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with this. And then one commencement, evidently the committee was really hard up for somebody to give a commencement address. And so I read this poem as a commencement address, which was really pretty embarrassing. Imagine, if you can imagine this particular sense of the then head of the foundation, 3-star retired Lieutenant General Heiser, was sitting there as I was telling stories about people who used to rappel off of Cook Hall. Nobody here ever did that. Okay, after having had amorous encounters on the roof. And the dear general was sitting there, and he would look at me, and then all of a sudden he would turn his head almost like an owl in order to look up at the top of the hall, wondering, these people are not special forces. How did they ever get off the top of that building? So this is the story behind this. Okay, there's a little piece of prose beside each one, which gives a summary. This is another one, great parody album about it. So it begins, peripatetic, or the art of sinking in college. The prose is, in which he sees education as a panacea. Nationwide, there's trouble. The deficiency must lie in education then, not me. To college then I came, my mind left tight to set the ills of higher ed aright. I first team taught, then lectured in a plan presumed to set the freshman mind to scan whole wisdoms of the ages, styles of art, philosophy, and physics formed by part of the bold, eclectic syllabus. Remorse alone was absent from the basic course. 2, in which he finds human nature again at play. But youth's delayed, played arts, ran amok, thought independently, then learned to, without a proper sponsor. Deans and students debated like scholastics, which was rudest of young maneuvers, hip, sweet paper white, or the college reputation. Half the night, such were the days. We all were paranoid, except one solitary, adenoid and introvert scholar. He read comic books for weeks in bed. Dick Tracy nailed those crooks of quantified repression. Numbered grades were slain like chinless victims of Sam Spades. In which core courses and comprehensives are deemed counterproductive. Let's get a job. Okay? Such were the days. The grand experiment sailed onward, sure, devoid of all intent but difference. Yet the high scholastic norm of GREs helped students to conform most properly, we found. Then fine and lean facts, sharp as a wild distractor, gave the axe to loose creative thinkers whose appeal to reason was hors d'oeuvres before the meal. A simple snack to warm the heart and head turned to poison, starved the heart instead. One execution proved the least expensive. Called any slow exam a comprehensive. Flunk almost everyone on one condition: the college, nonetheless, be paid tuition. 3, in which any 3 courses are deemed acceptable. At last we turned to courses. Motives pure, devoid of competition has been heard. We innovated and tried to count each one as if the process could equate to some simple knowledge. Courses make a term, we thought. Take any 3, you're sure to learn. But basket weaving, macrame, collage, gained worth as much as persiflage in sheer philosophy. Is something wrong when mathematics is as free as song? In which relevance is held to reign. Here we go. This gets surreal. The arts gained honor, paradoxically, as physics bent at the young Arato's knee, and Kyle pumped her damp calliope to hoot irrelevant astronomy. Jean Dixon, Robert Heinlein, even Frodo danced without words around Buddha's pagoda. Drop Webster, dig your Hesse, feel alive, Vonnegut hates Barth, United Swive, the spasm end of Marlowe, not alive. In which politics is disruption writ large. Then subtle Spyro swore the Reds would bury us if we opened our mind to the age of Aquarius. For politics was people, mostly dead. At first we learned Ted Kennedy's ahead. He rose from Chappaquiddick like Apollo. The rest of Joe Kopechne didn't follow. Great warhorse Humphrey thundered to defeat VC and Nixon. Neither would retreat. But we'd end that war by a secret plan. We'd end that war by a secret plan, unknown to tape recorder, God, nor man. But the faithful Sony, Nippon's last revenge, sat down his words as firm as great Stonehenge. The powers of creep, committee to elect the president, remember? The powers of creep would rest yet undefeated, save for the elusive expletive deleted. Such was the fall from power. In clear accord, Congress next produced itself a Ford. So clumsily yet carefully assembled, the Kennedys of Boston deigned to tremble. He would not run post-Ted. He'd not on Charter's party's choice. He gave us Jimmy Carter. So fashions change, as simple judgments should. We cropped the South, then turned to Hollywood. Most truths are celluloid, most tastes as fickle as plans to scoot around the MS Nixon. This one. The end, in which anarchy is enthroned. So how does education fit our flair for new computers, catchy drugs, hot air of infinite debate? Well, when in doubt, inaction is the surest thread run out, I think. Our maize is following our whims. If experts disagree, agree with them. Let everyone do his own thing, then see how systematic tyranny can be. Such anarchy is old. Its single choice condemns us to the college of our choice.